here we are, finally back at it. Haven't talked in forever, but I'm back with Michael, and I mean he's over there running FF Astronauts, going through his thing. But do you want to just give the listeners like a little quick introduction? Tell them what you do and what you like kind of bring to the content table.
Yeah, so I'm Michael Risher. I'm actually a chiropractor. So part of what I bring to the table is injury analysis and looking at different injuries in season, out of season, different surgeries, kind of showing what the timetable is going to be for return. So I don't know if we're going to talk about that today, but that's one thing that I like to bring to the table. I also host a podcast over at the Fantasy Football Astronauts. And so we do a weekly Dynasty themed podcast where we talk buys, sells, rookies. Right now we're in the middle of our rookie review. So looking back over this past 2019 draft and seeing what those guys are doing, how the picks panned out. And then on top of that, we have our YouTube channel that has draft breakdown. So draft breakdown, if you remember, that website was kind of abandoned. And so we started doing different draft breakdown videos, and we have 100 plus videos of the rookies that are incoming. And so it's probably 20% of all the game film that's out there for the rookie class, which is really exciting. We're doing some big things over there. But yeah, lots of fantasy football, lots of medical stuff. It's fun, man.
I mean, hey, that's awesome. If you want to check out anything, all the links are going to be in the description, so just go down underneath the video. But let's jump right into it. And for this first video, we're going to be talking about some wide receivers we like to buy and sell in Dynasty right now. And hey, let's start us off with someone you got. Let's hear your buy.
So my buy is Devonte Adams, and this feels a little bit contrary to what I would usually say. I'm a Bears fan, so I don't like the Packers, right? But I
Mm.
I think he was injured enough this season that his stock has dropped from the top three dynasty wide receiver that he truly is. I mean, you talk about DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, and Devontae Adams, right? That's a super solid top three. And right now, I think you can get him for a huge discount. And if you can get the kind of production that he brings to the table on a weekly basis in season, paired with Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur is doing an excellent job with that passing attack. And there's no other wide receiver or even tight end of consequence there. He's just got so much upside on any given week, and his price has dropped incredibly. So I think when you're looking at buys and sells, you need to look at who are the elite guys that I can get for cheap right now. And Devonte Adams is like by far the most elite guy that you can get for the least expensive. Everyone wants a Michael Thomas, everyone wants a DeAndre Hopkins. Well, now you can get that for much less than those guys cost. So I think that's a great buy this offseason, as much as the Packers are a terrible franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great call, especially because I think his value is going to continue to go down during the offseason. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, everyone's already completely off Aaron Rodgers at this point. Everyone is already saying, like, he's dust, he's washed. And that talk's going to continue throughout the offseason, and just as he gets a year older. Same thing with Devontae Adams. I mean, Devontae Adams isn't old, but he was part of that 2014 wide receiver class. So I think he was also a little bit older than the other rookies coming into that class. So I don't know his exact age, but I'd imagine he's kind of pushing it where people are just not going to be that excited about him because he's been around for so long. But he's kind of one of those wide receivers that there really aren't any stud wide receivers left. I mean, they're all kind of that's been the talk for the past like month now. I know everyone's talking. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about how like these elite wide receivers don't really exist anymore. There's like Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, and that's kind of about it. So I love the idea of spending like your second round startup pick on Devontae Adams. Like if he falls there, that's just a smash.
Yeah, and it has to be. So I just want the best guys on a points per game basis for the least expensive, and he's got to be the best wide receiver for the cheapest. Like Chris Godwin, you could go out and Chris Godwin's probably more expensive at this point than Devontae Adams, and there's a lot of uncertainty with Chris Godwin going forward. Is Jameis Winston going to be the quarterback? He's still got Mike Evans that he's competing with. Like, you don't really know what's going to happen there. So you could go out and get a younger Chris Godwin that has only proven it for 1 year, or you could get a guy that's done it year in, year out in Devontae Adams
Yeah.
for less than
Yeah,
you
hey, now you brought him up, we got to jump right into him. He's my sell, actually.
is he?
I mean, even last offseason, I just completely whiffed on him. I'm pretty sure I have a tweet out there saying, like, if I had 100 drafts, and then this was from 2019, if I drafted 100 fantasy football teams, I wouldn't come away with Chris Godwin in a single one. So obviously, I completely missed the mark. I was way off. But I mean, I'm looking at him. I saw a mock draft on Twitter that I just thought was absurd. He went like 106. He went ahead of like DeAndre Hopkins and stuff. And I'm like, even I know that's just one person, but still the thought that like that's like that, if that crosses your mind, in my opinion, to draft Chris Godwin ahead
Yeah.
of these Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins type players. I mean, it's baffling. It's horrible, in my opinion. I hate to say anything fantasy football is horrible, because I mean, who am I to act like I know significantly more than someone else? You know what I mean? But just, there's only downside at that price for Chris Godwin, because Mike Evans, he's not going anywhere. Like, there's no way. And just say OJ Howard takes a small step forward. That's another smaller piece of the pie that Chris Godwin's going to get. And if James Winston's gone, that just not destroys everyone's fantasy value from that offense, but severely caps it to where, I mean, they led the league in passing this year, and Jameis Winston was a big part of that. I know everyone hates Mr. 30 interceptions, but he doesn't care. I mean, he's slinging the ball. Like, so he had the perfect situation in 2019 to produce points, and he did, and he's young and he's exciting. But the fact that he's going ahead of these stud elite wide receivers, and he's only done it for 1 year in the best situation possible,
Right.
he's a screaming sell for me. I mean, I would rather have Juju straight up over him. I mean, I would rather have so many players straight up over Chris Godwin right now. But what do you think about that? Because I could
Yeah.
just be biased because I missed so hard in 2019.
No, so I was kind of middle of the pack on him. I wasn't super high, I wasn't super low. So all of the people that I helped draft, so none of my own leagues really, because I'm drafting with guys that and gals that pay attention a little bit more. But
Yeah.
all of the people that I advised, I had Chris Godwin in a really good tier where they all got Chris Godwin for a reasonable price, and then they just smashed all season, which was large part to me just being a little bit more excited about him than your average person that just plays one or two leagues every year. So I was okay on him. I didn't have him. I had him in one league, one dynasty league, and then a bunch of redraft leagues that I advised had him.
Yeah.
But I think that's spot on. I think you're seeing the points per game, and you're seeing the where he ranks on a weekly basis, and you look, and there's nothing but down. Like, he can't go anywhere but down, and I think he's reached his ceiling. He's a good wide receiver, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't like him as a player, but I think right now you've got him at his ceiling. So if you can get, like, right now you could get a Juju plus for
Yeah.
pickup, and with Big Ben coming back, I think that's great value. And so for me, when I'm evaluating these buys and sells, I'm thinking, is what I'm going to get on average better than what I'm going to sell? And I think on average, moving forward, just like you said, he had the best situation possible. On average, what you can get in return for Chris Godwin is way more than he can offer you in season. So I'm spot on with that. If he's going that high, I'll sell him in an instant for that amount. Like
Yeah.
give me a rookie first and Juju. That's probably what you could.
Yeah. I mean, it's absurd for me. Like, it doesn't sound real saying that out loud, in my opinion. Like, that's even possible, just because Juju did what he did over 2 seasons, like, as a 21-year-old rookie and 22-year-old player. You know what I mean? It has one down year, and then Chris. It's recency bias, and I don't know. I'm just a little salty about it, to be honest.
That's where you have to zoom out and see, okay, what has this player done over his career? Yeah, this is a breakout, but what has he done? What does this franchise think about Jameis? What has Jameis done throughout his career? And you have to look at the whole picture. You can't just say, oh, wow, Chris Godwin finally broke out. He's going to be the number one wide receiver forever and always. All right? Like, there's so much more to the story than that. And to get guys that declined but still have elite talent that will be in a better situation next year, I think that's, yeah, I definitely would sell him.
Awesome. Well, let's stop talking about that just a little bit, because I'm sure I'm going to be talking about that all off season. Just just how I think I'm just salty because I missed out on this
Yeah.
massive value spike, but it is what it is. So you want to jump into the guy you're selling?
Yeah. So I am interested in selling Devontae Parker. I think his hype is really high. But again, there's a lot of question marks there for me as well. Uh, you have Preston Williams coming back,
Yeah.
right? And so you have him coming back, and throughout the first half of the season, that's who the guy was on the team, right? It was Preston, and so you want the guy that is going to be the alpha on the passing game, right? I just don't know if that's going to be Devontae Parker going forward. He showed some really, really great flashes. The confidence was there for him. So it's not like I'm a Devontae hater, but this is a similar thing where you've never seen Devontae fully break out until this year, and now you're seeing him break out amidst chaos in Miami. You have no idea who their quarterback's going to be next year. You don't know if Devontae Parker is going to continue next year, and so for what I can get for him right now. Sorry about that.
All good, man. All good.
Someone asked me to move my car. But basically, for what I can get for him right now, I'm more interested in taking that than taking the risk of keeping him because I think he's going to be super valuable. So if I can get a good amount for Devontae Parker, I think I would move him again because I think his upside is there, but I also think there's a ton of risk that goes with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good call. I've kind of really bought into Devontae Parker because I mean, he was back in the day, he was a second round startup pick,
Yeah.
and I never bought into him until year 4, so
Right.
2018. And then he burned me then, and then I was like, if you look at the historical hit rates, no first round wide receiver ever breaks out year 5 and then becomes a consistent thing. So he's such an outlier at this point,
Yeah.
and he was an outlier in like you use the perfect word, like a chaotic situation. Like nothing was stable there, and then so it's kind of like the perfect recipe for just like randomness to happen. So I think you can easily excuse away his 2019 season. It's kind of random, and he's just falls in a tier where. I mean, do you even really want to be drafting a wide receiver at that point in the draft? Or I would rather pivot off and get like a young running back. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'd rather get maybe like a Rashad Penny plus. And then so it's just everything like falls in line to where it's kind of if you bought into him, like if you got him off waivers or something going into this year, paid a late fourth, like congrats, like you hit. But I would definitely sell for like a second round or an early second round pick in a super flex rookie draft.
Yeah, I think that's and so I don't want this to be mistaken as I don't like Devontae Parker. I think he's a good player. I've always been a fan of his, and I was really excited when he broke out. I'm just thinking, all right, I can get a lot more than I've ever been able to get for him, and I would rather take that risk than risk it all again on Devontae Parker. So that's where I stand with him.
Okay, well, we've each gone through. Actually, no, I have a buy. I'll give one. Actually, I'll give two. I'll do talks about them small though. I mean, not small, but shortly.
Sure.
DJ Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster. DJ Moore, red hot right now, but for great reason. Loved him coming in his rookie year, just complete profile. Loved him coming in his sophomore year, and now I think that those coaches that they just got in Carolina, significant upgrade. I know everyone's talking about how college coaches don't really translate too well to the NFL game most of the time. Like most of the time they're overhyped. But I mean, if you just look at what that head coach has done, turning programs around, he took Baylor from literally like I mean, I go to UT, so I've been watching Baylor play for the last like 4 years super closely. I mean, they were a laughing, like they were just a joke. Like whenever we would go play them, like it's just a chalked up W. Like in UT's not any good. You know what I mean? Yeah. And now when they're going out winning, did they just win the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, exactly. And he turned Temple around too. And both teams, he used a completely different offensive style. So I think he's really good at kind of designing the game plan with the personnel he has. Then did they just get I think it's official that they have Joe Brady from LSU now as their offensive coordinator, right?
That's the really exciting part, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So everything's falling in line. I did see a report that they are planning on trading Cam Newton. Who knows if that's true? I hope they don't. I'm just a fanboy for Cam. I know everyone says he's inaccurate or whatever, but I can't let my fandom get too far out ahead of me. But I think it would be harder for them to find an upgrade over Cam Newton at this point. It would be different if they were picking a little higher in the draft, but I don't think Herbert falls to them. I think they're picking at 8. I think a team's most likely going to want to jump up ahead of them if Herbert is there, just because everyone needs a quarterback in the NFL right now. I mean, that's what I'm also saying with Jameis Winston, who everyone's saying he's not going to have a job, but if you just look around, all these NFL teams are QB needy at this point. And
Yeah.
then with Juju Smith-Schuster, he was historically great first 2 seasons. Just an unbelievable player at that age. So I'm just willing to zoom out and bet on the profile.
Yeah, and if you see Big Ben will be back next year.
Yeah.
They're through. I think he's got 2 more years on his contract, actually, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be. But so you have Big Ben for at least 1 more year, and you have guys to fill that Antonio Brown type role in Deontay Johnson now.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it's just Juju out there doing his own thing. He has other weapons. James Washington had a good year. So they have other weapons they can use now, and it's not just Juju operating on his own. Although he will be the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver there. So I think he's an absolute buy. I'm trying to get him everywhere I can, because when people fall prey to recency bias and they forget that he's a top 10 dynasty wide receiver, if not a top 5 dynasty wide receiver, just based on his age. What is he? 22, 23?
Yeah, he's either 22 or 23. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's gonna be younger than some rookies coming in this year.
He's so young, and so for that reason alone, you're interested, and he already has 2 elite seasons under his belt. So big buy on Juju. And then DJ Moore, definitely. He was a sneaky top 10 wide receiver, right? Yeah. If you did not own him, you did not know that he was a top 10 wide receiver, because it was just so under the radar. There was so much turmoil going on there. There was so much focus on Christian McCaffrey that DJ Moore just had a very quietly good season. And I think what I think could happen in Carolina is there are a ton of free agent quarterbacks, right? They could go out and get a Marcus Mariota, trade Cam. They don't even need to draft a quarterback. They can go out and get a Marcus Mariota, a Teddy Bridgewater.
But I think that both those quarterbacks are just significantly worse than Cam.
They could be, but Joe Burrow was very average, and then Joe Brady came in and just completely turned his career around.
Yeah.
So you could get a guy that has that Ryan Tannehill type allure, where it's like, okay, maybe he just wasn't a good fit for the system. Now we have a quarterback whisperer. Let's get him in. So I think whatever happens, they'll have a quarterback upgrade. I don't want to pretend like I know what's gonna happen there. If it's Cam, Joe Brady's gonna help him out. If they get a free agent, Joe Brady's gonna help him out. If they draft a guy, Joe Brady's gonna help him out. So that's whatever happens, it's going to be an upgrade from what he had this year. And for that matter, I think Curtis Samuel's a screaming buy as well, because he's even cheaper, and that'll be another piece of that offense that's cheap that you can get. So love the DJ Moore call. He's another one of those guys that's a really good talent that you can now get for significantly cheaper than he should cost.